So we are proceeding to the next session. Speaker Dr. Sunil Neela, Consultant Interventional Cardiologist in R.N. Tagore Hospital. Topic, proceeding to the optimizing patient care in worsening heart failure, translating evidence into clinical practice.
So thank you, Chairperson, my regards, and good afternoon all the attendees. And today I'm going to talk about optimization patient care, exploring the evidences of what Vericiguat has role to play in it. These are my disclaimers. And the first is important is the definition of worsening heart failure. So what is worsening heart failure? It is increasing signs and symptoms of heart failure in a patient who is known to have a chronic heart failure, despite the patient is compliant on the guideline-directed medical therapy for heart failure, reduced ejection fraction, requiring intensification of treatment, mainly diuretics, which could be intravenous, oral escalation of the doses, or even sequential diuresis, that is adding another group of diuresis altogether. Now, patient who is known to have a first heart failure or de novo heart failure are excluded from worsening heart failure. There should not be any precipitating cause like ACS, infections, atrial fibrillation, iron deficiency, anemia, and the patient who are poor compliant or who are not taking their guideline-directed medical therapy are excluded from the diagnosis of worsening heart failure. Now, where did the term worsening heart failure came from? So the word was conceived in the DAPA heart failure trial, that in the treatment or in the treatment group, the patient received all 4 guideline-directed medical therapy. Still 1 in 7, that's 14% of the patient had a worsening event and had a cardiovascular event. And that is how the term worsening heart failure came into the picture. Now we know that the treatment of heart failure nowadays is changing from too much of mechanical devices to neurohormonal changes, and we have targeted the RAS axis with RAS blockers, the ACE, the ARNIs, and the MRAs, the sympathetic nervous system by beta blockers, the NPS which has got 2 parts, the ARNI which has got blocking of the ARB, as well as neprilysin blocker which increases the natriuretic peptide, and of course the SGLT2 inhibitor. And till now the nitric oxide pathway was not targeted till Vericiguat was introduced in the market. And what is the nitric oxide pathway? That nitric oxide causes increase or stimulation of soluble guanate cyclase, which causes stimulation of cyclic GMP. Now, heart failure is a nitric oxide, there is less nitric oxide in the blood, so there is less cyclic guanate stimulation, and there is less cyclic GMP production, and there is less myocyte function. So what happens if there is a stimulation of soluble guanate cyclase in the heart? It causes less hypertrophy, causes less fibrosis, causes increase in blood flow. In the blood vessels, it causes improved compliance, it decreases remodeling, causes less vasoconstriction and increased blood flow. In the kidney, it causes less fibrosis and increases blood flow. So the preventive mechanism of action of this increasing soluble guanate cyclase by directly stimulating by Vericiguat is a potential benefit if initiated early in the patients with heart failure, reduced ejection fraction, and worsening event. Now, if you see the different trials of heart failure, reduced ejection fraction, the Victoria trial with Vericiguat was equally important, and the significant were comparable to other heart failure trials like the Paradigm heart failure trial with the ARNI, the DAPA and the Emperor reduced heart failure trial with the SGLT2 inhibitor. And if you see, the absolute risk reduction was similar, and the number needed to treat was only 24 in the Victoria trial with Vericiguat. So I'll show you few cases which we get in our day-to-day practice of worsening heart failure. So once the patient is stabilized after a heart failure decompensation, the GFR should be more than 15, and the systolic blood pressure more than 100, and there should be no intravenous diuretic for last 24 hours, and the patient could be on the background therapy of the 4 guideline-directed medical therapy. And this could be the first scenario that the patient is on background medical therapy. Still, this patient experiences a decompensation under optimal background therapy. So this is a 58-year-old male presented, had a PCI for STEMI in 2020 and had a left ventricular ejection fraction 25%, was initiated on heart failure therapy. In 2021, he came to the outpatient as asymptomatic, of course, with reduced ejection fraction. In February 2024, he came with the worsening heart failure event and was treated with intravenous diuretic, and then subsequently the oral diuretic doses were increased to 80 milligram because the patient was on all the guideline-directed medical therapy, ARNI, empagliflozin, spironolactone, and bisoprolol. He was added with vericiguat 2.5 milligram, and then subsequently the doses were increased over time. So if you see the vericiguat trial, the Victoria trial, they showed that the benefit was across all subgroups, patient receiving the guideline-directed medical therapy or not receiving the guideline-directed medical therapy. The doses, how do we adjust the doses of the vericiguat is every 2 weeks we increase the dose from 2.55 and then get to the recommended dose of 10 milligram vericiguat on the background of guideline-directed medical therapy. Make sure the systolic blood pressure is above 90 before you increase the doses, and make sure the patient is now not on any another PDE5 inhibitor like sildenafil, which is contraindicated the vericiguat use. Now, there is no excessive blood pressure reduction with vericiguat seen, be the age of patient above 75, be the age below 75, be the patient's systolic blood pressure above 110, or be it be below 110, the patient using sacubitril valsartan or not using sacubitril valsartan, that there was no excessive blood pressure drop in this group of patients. So the first patient qualified to receive a vericiguat and was given vericiguat. Now coming to our second patient, that the background therapy or the guideline-directed medical therapy is incomplete because it is not suitable for completion. So this is a patient who experiences decompensation under suboptimal background therapy, which could be contraindicated. The patient would be previously intolerant to the background therapy, or the patient is inadequate clinical parameters like low systolic blood pressure, low GFR, or high potassium to give a guideline-directed medical therapy. So this is a 66-year-old woman who come for a follow-up clinic after worsening heart failure event. She had a non-STEMI in 2019 and had 2 PCIs, and she ceased smoking. In 2021, she had a left ventricular ejection fraction of 30, and last week she was discharged from hospital following a decompensated heart failure treatment with IV diuretics. No changes in the other medications was done because of the creatinine, if you could see. Any pointer? Yeah. If you could see the creatinine, which was 2.2, so the GFR was 24. You cannot use ARNI below a GFR of 30, and that was important that she did not receive ARNI, and the potassium was 5, so that MRA was also not given to the patient. Of course, the furosemide was increased, and then ultimately it was brought from IV, it was brought down to oral furosemide, 40 milligram twice daily, empagliflozin, carvedilol, and other antithrombotic medicines and the diabetic medicines. She was added on vericiguat 2.5 milligram, and then the doses were escalated accordingly with time, and the patient did well. Now, in patients with heart failure, reduced reaction fraction, adherence to guideline-directed medical therapy is quite challenging because of worsening renal failure, hyperkalemia, hypotension, older age, and heart rate. So we need a therapy which has no effect or minimal effect on blood pressure, renal functions, or hyperkalemia, and vericiguat fills the bill. Now, discontinuation of standard guideline-directed medical therapy in real-world data is common, and 1 year after the initiation of guideline-directed medical therapy, there is a discontinuation about 24 to 42% of patients. And patients who are not receiving the guideline-directed medical therapy, be it be non-user or be it be discontinuation for contraindications, they do bad than patient who receives the guideline-directed medical therapy, and the p-value being highly significant. So vericiguat has got no changes in the GFR with time, neither there is increase in creatinine with time vis-a-vis the placebo, and the effect of vericiguat was maintained across all GFR, be it the GFR below 30, be the GFR between 30 and 60, and be the GFR above 16, be it be the primary endpoint of heart failure hospitalization and cardiovascular death, or be it be heart failure hospitalization all-cause death, or be it be cardiovascular death, that all the parameters were better with vericiguat irrespective of the GFR. Neither there were any changes in the sodium and potassium in patients who receive vericiguat above the placebo. So vericiguat can be used in complex patient where patient is at a risk of hypotension because there is no drop in systolic blood pressure significantly with vericiguat. Patients with renal impairment also can be given vericiguat because vericiguat can be given up to a GFR of 15, and there is no significant changes in the GFR with vericiguat, and neither there is increase in potassium, and there is basically no impact on potassium and sodium with vericiguat. So coming to our third case, this is a patient who is on incomplete on the background guideline-directed medical therapy, though he is suitable to complete the therapy, and the patient is a patient who experiences a decompensation on suboptimal background therapy, but completion of the background therapy is possible. So this is a patient of dilated cardiomyopathy, non-ischemic, at first worsening event in 2020 and now hospitalized for worsening event. So what happens, he is on all 4 guideline-directed medical therapy of eplerenone, Arni, bisoprolol, and Arni, bisoprolol, and of course, because this patient was incomplete, though can be completed, so dapagliflozin was given during hospitalization. From oral diuretic, it was converted to IV diuretic, and once the patient was ready to go home, then again IV diuretic was transferred to oral diuretic, and the patient was added Vericiguat 2.5 milligram, and then subsequently during the follow-ups, the doses of Vericiguat was built. So Vericiguat could be a quintuple therapy along with the guideline-directed medical therapy, can be started in the hospital pre-discharge, and then the doses can be escalated during the follow-up visits of patients in the OPD. So the third patient also fits in the bill for Vericiguat. So if you give Vericiguat in patients with outdoor worsening of heart failure, prior heart failure within last 3 to 6 months, or current heart failure within 3 months, there is a reduction in episodes of cardiovascular event and heart failure hospitalization from 26% to 20%, 32% to 27%, and 42% to 39% in patients who receive Vericiguat. So Vericiguat improves the outcome, and the Victoria trial showed that there is a significant reduction in heart failure hospitalization and cardiovascular death vis-a-vis the placebo. The absolute risk reduction was 4.2 per 100 patients. The number needed to treat was as low as 42, and there was consistent benefit irrespective of the background therapy. Initiation of Vericiguat is straightforward, can be started with the blood pressure above 100, the GFR above 15, and there could be simultaneous initiation or rapid sequences of Vericiguat along with the guideline-directed medical therapy, and the benefits provided in complex patients where there is a minimal impact on systolic blood pressure, renal functions, and electrolytes, that Vericiguat can be started. With that, I end my talk here and hand it back to the chair. If there are any questions and answers, we are happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful deliberation. Sir, kindly tell us that when we should, in our clinical practice, when we should introduce Vericiguat. That is, in patients with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction, once we wait the patient to achieve the maximum tolerated dose of the quadruple therapy, thereafter we introduce Vericiguat. We can do it.
So, very important question. So, the question, sir, is asking that should we wait till we give all the guideline-directed medical therapy to the patient before we start Vericiguat? So first you should have a worsening event, and we have defined worsening event, and the patients excluded from worsening events are de novo heart failure. That is, the patient should not be having first acute heart failure. That's point number 1. The patient should be compliant on the guideline-directed medical therapy. That's point number 2. And point number 3, there should not be any precipitating causes like ACS, anemia, or infection. So if those are not the reason, and if the patient has a worsening heart event, so I showed my second case that in that patient there was the GFR was on the lower side, that we could not start Arni. The potassium was on the higher side, that we could not start a MRA, but still we gave Vericiguat to this patient before the guideline-directed medical therapy could be completed. So these are patients where you should not wait that you had to fulfill the guideline-directed medical therapy before you initiate Vericiguat. So in patients who are patients who could not get a guideline-directed medical therapy because of contraindications or side effects or because of intolerance, you should give the patient Vericiguat. The benefits of Vericiguat, it can be easily started with a dose of 2.5 milligram, then deck up the doses every 15 days till the 10 milligram, which is the desirable doses. And very important point, that can be given up to a GFR of 15 with no concerns about blood pressures and potassium. So it is a treatment for family physicians to do it at home, not that a cardiologist is required to start or initiate Vericiguat to this patient. So even the patients are not getting a guideline-directed medical therapy, you should give the benefit of Vericiguat to this patient. Yes, Dr. Bansali. Okay. So again, a great question. So So in heart failure, reduced reaction fraction, hydralazine and dinitrate combinations are given in patients who had a higher BP on top of the guideline-directed medical therapy. Especially, we say that the results are better in black or Negroes, where they do react to this medicine. That's a class 2A indication. On top of the guideline-directed medical therapy, still the blood pressure is on the higher side and the heart failure symptoms persist, that you add a hydralazine dinitrate combination to these patients. Yes, doctor.
In CKD patient, you just told that till 15
Yes,
eGFR,
yes.
you can safely use this.
Yes. Yeah, so very important question he has asked, that vericiguat can be given up to a GFR of 15. So the question Dr. Sampath has asked me that can I like give it below 15? So we don't have data to initiate vericiguat below 15 GFR. However, if you started vericiguat above 15 GFR, maybe with the consent of the patient and with nephrologist in tandem, that you can tell that the patient can stop vericiguat on the day of dialysis, can continue below a GFR of 15, though no data are there, and you cannot start below 15. But once you have started above 15, you can continue with the patient telling the consent that it is out of guideline indication, and the nephrologist should be on board.
Just
with
like
the patient.
SGLT2 inhibitor.
Yeah, like SGLT2, but the benefits are there and the patient can continue it. Just make the drug absent on the day of dialysis.
If the patient can't tolerate the hernia because of the low pressure, suppose the pressure is less than 90/60. In those situations, can you just replace this molecule?
Yeah, so number one, to start vericiguat, as of today, we are standing on 17th August 2025, that vericiguat can only be initiated in worsening heart failure. It cannot be given as a drug of choice or like a guideline-directed medical therapy in otherwise patient who did not have a worsening event. So that is point number one. But if the patient had a worsening event, vericiguat can be initiated with some degree of caution up to a systolic blood pressure of 90, knowing that it does not reduce the blood pressure significantly. So you can start vericiguat with caution up to a blood pressure of 90. However, increasing the doses if the blood pressure goes below 90 is slightly dicey, that you should not do. However, having said that, in 3 weeks' time, we had the ESC, which is coming up in last week of August and first week of September. There will be data from the Victor trial where vericiguat would be tried as one of the guideline-directed medical therapy. And if that trial, which looks promising till the top-line data were released, and if the trial comes to be positive, then vericiguat may be soon becoming a fifth pillar of guideline-directed medical therapy without even worsening heart failure. So from treatment of worsening heart failure, it could be a prevention of worsening heart failure.
In such
Yes, sir.
worse situation, is there role of omecamtiv mecarbil? Of course, it is not available.
Sir,
but what literature says,
I could not...
that is myosin activator omecamtiv mecarbil.
Can omecamtiv. So omecamtiv was the Galactic trial which was done with omecamtiv, which increases the actin-myosin overbridging, and that was a trial which failed to show any cardiovascular mortality benefits, so that medicine is still not allowed, and different trials has to be taken. Another trial has to undergo before Galactic, after the Galactic trial with omecamtiv to make it a drug which can be used in heart failure reduced reaction fraction. Right now, omecamtiv is not allowed to be used in heart failure reduced reaction fraction because there is no cardiovascular death benefit, and unless until there is a cardiovascular death benefit, the trial, the medicine is not allowed to be used. More trials are underway with omecamtiv to prove that it can be beneficial in heart failure reduced ejection fraction.
Any other question or comments? If no, then
Situation. Because for rate control in AF, you can use.
So
but,
digoxin is an
in
important
just such desperate situations?
Yeah, digoxin is an important medicine in heart failure, reduced reaction fraction, especially in the patient who had a low blood pressure, that we can't build on the beta blocker doses, and we are not still at the target of 70 heart rate, which we target in sinus rhythm. So digoxin can be a medicine which can be used if the pressure head is on the lower side to bring down the heart failure, to bring down the heart rate below 70. Of course, the other medicines in sinus rhythm that can be used with beta blockers, even if the blood pressure is on the lower side, is ivabradine, to bring down the heart rate below 70 to get the maximum benefit. However, lanoxin or digoxin is one drug of choice which can be given, but it's a class 2A indication which has shown to reduce heart failure hospitalization, but with no cardiovascular death benefit out of it.
If no other question, then we conclude this session. Thank you, Dr. Lila.
Thank
for
you,
a nice
and
presentation.
appreciate upon giving me a
And thank you,
chance, and
delegates, for
thank
the
you and my regards to the
good
chair.
interaction.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.